Hi everyone, Julie Ashmore here, course leader for A-Level English Literature, and we're going to attempt to have a Twelfth Night bridging lesson for Lit. Let's see how this works. Right, so Twelfth Night is the Shakespeare play that we start studying in first year. It's the very first text that you'll begin with, and more about editions, etc. are on the little video that's about the books. So there we go. I'm getting used to this technology. Why do we start with the Twelfth Night? Because you've all done a Shakespeare text at A level, and the way that you will study, you've all done a Shakespeare text at GCSE, and the way that you study the text is exactly the same format. You'll do a close analysis of the text of a section. You're given that in the exam, just like you were at GCSE. And we'll do a discussion of the major themes, the characters' motivations, etc. Difference, much more in depth. You'll know every single inch of this play, and we'll help you and we'll guide you through that. But there'll be a familiarity there that will make you feel like you've got off to a really good start with your A-level studies. Okay, so we are going to begin by watching this trailer from the National Theatre. Some of you may have watched this when it was broadcast a few weeks ago. Let's just see what your first impressions are then of this play.
What country, friends, is this?
This is Illyria, lady.
If music be the food of love, play on. Malvonia. Why, that begins my name. Time? Thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie.
Okay, so what were your thoughts there? Did that feel like a Shakespearean play? Did it feel like a comedy? What would we already start to be picking out in terms of themes and ideas? Definitely something going on with music. Definitely lots of movement. And then that time, thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie. There are going to be problems, there are going to be complications. It's a fun play. It's quite irreverent, it doesn't take itself too seriously. But that doesn't mean that along the way it doesn't explore serious issues, particularly issues to do with identity, gender, love. So, Twelfth Night is probably one of the most famous comedies that Shakespeare has written. Like most of his plots, we've got a main plot and a subplot, and the way it's presented in this play is to look at the two different households that we've got. Twelfth Night itself is a real kind of date, usually the 5th or 6th of January. There's a little bit of not quite full agreement on that, but it's a festivity of misrule, of roles being reversed, of status being inverted. So the servants become the masters and the masters the servants. So I hope that that's given you lots to think about. Remember, you can skip the video back, you can watch it again, you can have a bit of a think. Just imagine if we were in our classroom, we'd have spent a bit more time discussing this, looking at a bit more text. This is just the tiniest taster. Okay, so what we're going to do now is a little bit of work on close analysis of language. This is the question that you get for part A of the exam. It never changes except for the focus. Discuss the following passage from, and obviously that will change. We're going to look at Act 1, Scene 1, exploring Shakespeare's use of language and its dramatic effects. I've even put on there that it's worth 15 marks, and you would spend no more than 40 minutes on this. So if we were in the classroom now, I'd probably on your tables be giving you each a copy of the extract, asking you to work through it, highlighting it, noticing what you are picking out in terms of language. So let's do that together. So this play opens outside Duke Orsino's palace. Okay, there's a palace, there's a duke. Interesting. And there are some lords and musicians. And so the first character we hear from is Duke Orsino, and he says, "If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, that surfeiting the appetite may sicken, and so die." That strain again, it had a dying fall. Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odour. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before. O spirit of love, how quick and fresh art thou, that, notwithstanding thy capacity, receiveth as the sea. Naught enters there, of what validity and pitch soe'er, but falls into abatement and low price. Even in a minute, so full of shapes is fancy, that it alone is high fantastical. So we're in the lesson, and I'm going around the tables, and I'm asking you what you've noticed, and look what you've pulled out. I've highlighted it for you already. That opening line, if music be the food of love, we've got a metaphor there, haven't we? And we've heard of this before, we might even recognise this line. So he's saying, if music be the food of love, play on. He wants to be fed more with this sound, with the love. But then he says, give me excess of it, that surfeiting the appetite may sicken and so die. This is a bit odd. He says, give me so much food of love that I make myself ill with it. I don't know if you've ever eaten anything to excess, or drunk anything to excess where you haven't been able to eat or drink any more and you've made yourself ill and then you can never eat or drink that thing again. What an odd combination of things to open with. What might that be telling us already about the Duke Orsino and what kind of character he is? And so this next bit that I've highlighted in blue, after listening to this music, he says very quickly, enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before. Why is he saying that? Why, after listening to this music, after saying that strain again, is he asking for it to stop? Again, what is this telling us about the character? Well, it's pretty obvious he's quite changeable. A bit fickle? Maybe not to be trusted? Right. So what would we do in a lesson? We would highlight this, we would make some notes, we would discuss our responses. Everything that you've done at GCSE, but we're just going to keep ramping it up a little bit. Okay, I'm not going to play this one for you. I'm going to let you go back and watch this in your own time, because what we tend to do in lessons as we go through the play, annotating it together, is I will record myself so that you can see what I'm actually annotating. Students find this quite reassuring. It's a way of making sure every bit of the play is covered and annotated, and it means that if you've missed a lesson or if you just zoned out for a little bit, or when it comes to revising a year later, you can access all of these in one of our Google Classrooms or on my YouTube site. But we certainly don't need to watch that now. Okay, so what can you do next? That's our 12th night lesson. By all means, get ahead and read the play. If you don't want to buy a copy yet because you're still not sure, read it online, use the No Fear Shakespeare. You can access cartoons like this that will give you a little breakdown of what's happening. You can also watch the play. Now, a bit of a kind of health word of warning, caution here. It's quite hard to find very good versions on YouTube. I've put one on here. By all means, watch it. It's an amateur version, but what you can access are lots of little clips on the RSC website, National Theatre website, etc. And actually, to buy versions of the play, they're not that expensive. That said, we will, of course, as a class, we'll watch an entire play together. and I'd really hope that there's an opportunity to take you to see a live version of the play when you're studying with me. Again, any questions, you've got my email on the website and you can get in touch.